Hey guys, welcome back once again. This is Srikanth Rathod here, your virtual trainer. Today's topic to discuss is consecutive and evenly spaced numbers. So let's see in detail what are the types of number and what are the types of question you may expect based on this. Okay, right. Consecutive integers are the integers that follow one another without skipping any integers. Example: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. Again I can say -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 and so on. Any number which has been written one after another are called consecutive. It may be negative, it may be positive, including 0, but it specifies when I'm saying consecutive negative integers or consecutive positive integers. In this case 0 is not considered as I'm talking about the sign, right? Okay, in general we can express a consecutive integer as x, x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3 and so on, where x is an integer. So if you don't know from where your numbers are starting, so generally take it as the first term as x and keep adding 1 to the existing one. So you'll be representing the consecutive numbers like this. Now let's take an example. If there is a question, you may get example: if the sum of 5 consecutive integer is 20, question is what is largest integer in the set. Alright, so I have taken just a simple one to explain. The sum of 5 consecutive integer is 20. What is the largest integer in the set? Okay, so they are saying, now if I don't know what the number is, which is the smallest one, which is the largest one, I don't know. So I consider the first integer as x, then the second integer is x plus 1, third integer is x plus 2, fourth integer is x plus 3 and fifth one is x plus 4. Like these are the 5 integers and this term is the largest among all, right? Because whatever the integer is there, you are adding plus 4 to it, so this will be the largest. Now if you add them all, the question says their sum is equal to 20. So this all equal to 20. Now solve for x. Just do the basic algebra here. X, how many times x is repeating here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can write it as 5x plus 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4, it's gonna be 10. 5x plus 10 is equivalent to 20. So if you solve for this, the value of x is gonna be 2, right? The question is what is the largest integer in the set? So as we mentioned, the largest integer is this. So the value of the largest integer here is 2 plus 4, that is 6. Alright, so this is the common type of question what you expect on the consecutive integers. Now let's see the other varieties. Sometime you may also expect a question to find the number of terms in a certain range. Let's take, they may ask you how many integers or how many number of terms are there from x to y inclusive. It means how many numbers are there from x to y including the x and y. So this type of questions can be solved by using the rule, that is to find the number of terms. We can use the word last term minus the first term plus 1. No matters whether your last term is positive or negative, first term is positive or negative, this is the general rule what we can follow to solve those kind of questions. Let me just take an example for your reference. How many integers are there from 5 to 10? How many integers are there from 5 to 10? So when I'm saying from, it means 5 and 10 are including in that, okay? So let me use this rule. What is your last? First is 5 and the last is 10. So the rule says last term minus the first term. I can say 10 minus 5, add 1 to this difference, plus 1. So 10 minus 5 is 5 plus 1, total 6. So we can say there are 6 integers are there from 5 to 10. So which are those now? If I make a list of those, it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So there are total 6 in count. So no matter how long the sequence is, so this is the way of solving number of terms from the x to y are in the given range, right? Let's take another example. Same question. How many integers are there, or I can say number of terms from -5 to 3 inclusive, right? So I'm saying how many number of terms are there from -5 to 3. No matter as I told, the where numbers are positive or negative, we follow the same rule. Last term is 3 minus your first, minus sign is as it is, okay, minus your first term is -5 plus 1, right? So we can say 3 minus of minus, it's gonna be plus 5 plus 1. So what it is, 3 plus 5 is 8, 8 plus 1, total 9 terms are there from -5 to 3. This is the way of solving the type of question, right? Sometime you may also expect a questions to find the number of terms between. So the difference between the inclusive and the number of terms between is that when we talk about the number of terms between, then I won't be considering the first and the last term. So let's take an example. I have a numbers, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And if I'm talking about the how many number of terms are there between 1 to 6, then I'll be just counting these many. I'll be excluding the first term and I'll be excluding the last term. That is the meaning of the number of terms to find in a between in the given range, right? So formula is saying instead of adding 1, we just need to subtract 1 from the whatever the result we are getting. All right. So let's take an example here. How many integers are there between 7 to 20? Let's take this as an example. So I have to exclude 7 and 20. So the rule is 20 last term minus the first term minus 1, right? So 20 minus 7, it's 13, 13 minus 1. So total there are like 12 integers. So which are those? I can say 8, 9, 10 till 19. If you count, there are total 12 integers from 8 to 19, right? So this is the way of calculating the number of terms between. Now let's move on. Sometime you also expect a question on finding the sum of the consecutive integers. First question you may expect to find the number of terms in the given range, and the second question what you may expect here is finding the sum of the terms in a consecutive numbers. To find the sum, we have to use this rule. So sum is equals to the first term plus last term by 2. It means find the average of the first and the last term, and that result multiply by the number of terms. As we know, basically it's the average. We can write it here as sum divided by number of terms, right? Same rule I am following here. So if this expression can be modified as sum is equivalent to average times the number of terms, right? That's what we have represented it. Sum is equals to the average times the number of terms, and average for the consecutive even number or consecutive numbers or consecutive evenly spaced numbers is always the average of the first and the last term, right? Let's take one example here. How many, or say what is the sum of all integers, or what is the sum of integers from 80 to 120? These are the sum of all the integers from 80 to 120. It's basically whenever they specifying the range from this one to that, it means this is the way of representing the consecutive integers from the certain range, right? See, as I told, the sum is basically the average of the first and the last term times the number of terms. So it's important to calculate how many number of terms are here. First solve for the number of terms, and we know that the rule to calculate the number of terms, because we are talking about the sum of 80 to 120 means we are talking about inclusive, right? So number of terms is like your last term is 120, your first term is 80, to this add 1. So 120 minus 80, that's gonna be 40, 40 plus 1, it's gonna be 41. So your sum here is the average of the first and the last term. The first term is 80 in the given sequence and the last term is 120. So we can say 80 plus 120 by 2 times 41. Alright. So 80 plus what we are getting here, 80 plus 120. So that's 200 by 2 times by 41, right? So 200 by 2, it's gonna be 100 times 41. So your sum is gonna be 4100. This is the sum of all the numbers from 80 to 120, no matters whichever the range they give. So this is the way of solving, right? Okay. As we are talking about the competitive exam, so there are certain questions we need to solve, like very fast, maybe in 10, 15 or 20 seconds, like that. And remember this note, if there is a question relating with the sum of first n consecutive numbers, if this is the word has been used in the question, then you can directly find its sum as n times n plus 1 by 2. This is the way for solving the sum of first n consecutive numbers. First n, it means the number is starting from 1. Like if I say what is the sum of first 10 consecutive numbers, or what is the sum of first 100 consecutive numbers, means your number is starting from 1, 2, 3, 4 till n. N may be 10, 100, 1000, no matter whatever it is. So you have to make use of this rule, because the number of terms will be same as the n. So you have to do n times n plus 1 divided by 2, right? And as they say, where n is the last term. This is the shortcut what you follow. But remember, this works only when the numbers are starting with 1. Alright, let's move next. Other common question what you expect here is based on consecutive even and odd integers. As we know, the even numbers or even integers are the number which are multiples of 2, right? So same thing, the consecutive even numbers are the even number which follows one another. So example, I can say consecutive even, I can say here as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. I can also say -4, -2, 0, 2, 4 and so on, no matter whether the number is starting with the negative or positive. So this is the way of representing consecutive even numbers. So how do we represent the odd numbers then? Definition of odd is the number which are not multiples of 2, right? So we can write a consecutive odd number we can express as 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and so on, right? So this is, remember, whether the number are consecutive even or consecutive odd, the gap, that is the difference between the higher and the lower term, is always 2. Difference between higher and lower term is always 2. Here is as well. So difference between higher and the lower term is 2, that is 3 minus 1 is 2, 5 minus 3 is 2, 7 minus 5 is 2 and so on. If the numbers difference with the 2, whether the even or odd, those numbers are called consecutive even or consecutive odd numbers based on the number given, right? Now, this is the most universal rule I can say to calculate the number of terms in the given range, whether they are consecutive even, consecutive odd, or the terms which are multiple of any other numbers, maybe the multiple of 5, multiple of 7, multiple of 12, whatever. This is the most universal rule I can solve to find the number of terms between, or the number of terms including the first and the last term of the sequence, right? So the number of multiples of x, as I said, where x is an integer, x may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, any, is given by the last multiple of x minus first multiple of x divided by x. So here x is representing, here when I am saying divided by x, means this is basically the common difference. Okay. So last multiple of x minus first multiple of x divided by the common difference plus 1. Remember, in a consecutive, our common difference was just 1. That's the reason we just said like last number minus first number plus 1 to calculate the number of terms inclusive, right? But if the numbers are apart from the consecutive, then we can, like if we are solving for any multiples of 5, 10, 17, whatever, this is the rule what we need to use. Okay, let's just check some take some example and we'll verify, right? Okay, now question says, let me take one example here. Question says, how many even numbers are there from 13 to 33? Okay, so how many even numbers are there from 13 to 33? Be careful here, I'm talking about the how many even numbers. So but our number sequence is starting from 13 to 33, so you can't just take the last term as 33 and the first term as 13, as these are not multiples of 2, or these are not even, as I'm talking about the even number, right? Then the very smallest even number in this range is like 14, and the largest number in this even number in this range is 32. You should not exceed 32 and you can't go beyond 13, right? So the largest is 32 and the smallest is 14. So now to calculate the we are calculating the multiples of 2 in this one. So what I do, the last multiple of 2, that is 32, minus the first multiple of 2, that is 14. This result we have to divide by 2, because this is the common difference, like every even numbers are differ by 2, plus 1. So 32 minus 14, so what you are getting here, 32 minus 14 is, we are getting here as 18. 18 by 2 plus 1, so what it is now, 18 by 2, it's gonna be 9 plus 1, so 2 times 1, 2 times 9, right? 9 plus 1, so there are like total 10 even numbers are there from 13 to 33? If you just list for your reference, I can say 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30 and 32. If you count these all, their sum results in 10, right? So this is the way of calculating the number of any multiples of x in the given range. All right. Okay, so other type of question what you may expect with this one is, let me just erase whatever the things I wrote, erase all. Okay, other type of question what you may expect with this one is finding the sum. Let's take another example. The sum of even numbers from 13 to 33 is, the sum of even numbers from 13 to 33 is, because they are talking about the sum, and we know that the formula for the sum is the average of the first and the last term multiplied by the number of terms, right? So we already saw that the number of even terms, here I'm talking about the even number, so we have to say the number of even terms, and this is how we calculated. So we found that the number of even terms from the 13 to 33 in the previous example was 10. Yeah, so we found that the value of n as 10, right? So what was your first number? 14, and the last number was 32. The average of the first and the last term, so divided by 2 times the number of terms here, what we got here as 10. So what do you get? So 14 plus 32, what we gonna get now? It's gonna be 46 divided by 2 times the 10. So 46. So we can say 46 by 2 is 23 times 10. Then your sum is gonna be 230. This is the sum of all the even numbers from 14 to 32, like 14 plus 16 plus 18 plus so on till 32. Okay. All right. So let me take another example. If I ask you, let's take how many multiples of 5 are there from 100 to 200. The question is how many multiples of 5 are there from 100 to 200. Look at, the first number is also multiple of 5 and the last number is also multiple of 5, like 100, 105, 110, 115 and so on. How many are there from 100 to 200? That is, in this case now we are finding the number of multiples of 5. So if you replace x with 5 here, so what do you get? I can say number of multiples of 5 is, we can write it here as what? The last multiple of 5, that is 200, minus the first multiple of 5, that is 100, divided by the common difference. The common difference here is 5. So as I'm talking about the multiply 5, that same number it remains as the common difference. So I'm talking about the multiple of 5. So divide by 5 plus 1, right? 200 minus 100 is 100. 100 divided by 5 plus 1. So what we get here? 100 by 5, it's going to be 20. 20 plus 1. So the result here is 21. So there are like 21 multiples of 5 are there from 100 to 200. So this is the way of asking. No matter whichever the multiple, they may ask you question multiple of 3, 4, 6, 7, whatever the number. So you have to follow the same rule to solve it. Okay. Now, again, this is the note, it's important. Sum of first n positive even numbers can be given by the formula n times n plus 1. It means if your sequence is starting with the 2, that is the meaning of sum of first n positive even numbers. So it's like 2, 4, 6 till n, where n is the number of even terms. So like if I say what is the sum of first 100 even numbers, so the value of here it's gonna be n is 100, the first 100 even numbers. So you'll be doing the 100 times 100 plus 1, like that, right? So this is the faster way of, no need of calculating how many terms and so on. This is the faster way to solve the sum of first n positive even number. In the same way, we can also find the sum of first n positive odd numbers. So we can find by using this rule. So that 1, 3, 5, 7, isn't it? So the first n positive odd numbers. So if they say what is the sum of first n 50 positive odd numbers, so it's your number is starting here from 1, 1, 3, 5 till the last term, where the last is the 50th term. So what would be their sum? That will be just given by the n square. This is the shortcut what we need to remember. And remember, sometime you may also expect a question to compare the sum of first n positive even number is always greater than the sum of the first n positive odd number. So this is, I can say, sum of first n even number. So this how you can simplify now. Look at this, can be written as n square plus n, right? If you apply this n, that's by using the distributive property, this is the sum of first n positive even number. This is always greater than the sum of the first odd positive numbers. So sum of the first odd positive number is just n square itself, right? So this is, sometime they may expect you to calculate what is their comparison, whether the sum, let's say the sum of first 100 even number and the sum of first 100 odd number. So which one is the greater? So definitely you go with the sum of first 100 even number is greater than the odd. Or they may also ask you the difference between the sum of first 100 or even numbers and the sum of first 100 odd number is, just we know the difference. So n square plus n minus n square. So this is the 100. Like this is the most, the different way of asking question, but the basic remains the same. All right, let's move to the next. Another common topic is evenly spaced numbers. So till now we were discussing about the consecutive or consecutive even and odd. So that is the number which follows the one another with the certain gap. In the same way, evenly spaced numbers are also the sequence which follows the one another with the fixed difference between them. Okay, so let's say what are those? Evenly spaced set is also called as an arithmetic progression, is a sequence of number in which the difference between any two successive member of the sequence is the constant. If you take the difference of the higher terms with the lower, that difference is fixed or constant for the any number you choose in the sequence. If I just represent an example, let's take, if I'm writing here as 1, let's take 5, 9, 13, right, and 17 and so on. If you take the difference between 5 and 1, so 5 minus 1 is 4. If you take the difference 9 minus 5, that is 4. If you take the difference as 13 minus 9, 4. 17 minus 13, it's gonna be 4 and so on. If this difference is constant or I can say fixed, and such sequence are called evenly spaced numbers or evenly spaced sequence, right? So this is the way of representing. So what are the type of question you may expect on this, right? So as I said, this is, let's consider this is my first term. In general, we represent with the A1. This is my second term, A2, A3, and so on. The first type of question what you expect here is, what is the, let's take the nth term. So this is my first term, this is second term, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. If I ask you what is the 10th term, so 10th term means I am talking about what is the value of a term, right? What is the A10? So what would be the number here? That is the question. What is the 10th term, as this is the first and so on. So to calculate the nth term in general, that n may be anything. What is the 10th term, or what is the 20th term, or what is the 100th term? It may be anything. In general, to calculate the nth term, we can use this rule. If the first term is a1 and the common difference of the successive member is d, so in our case d is this value, right? So common difference from the successive member is fixed, that is d. Then the nth term of the sequence is an is equals to a1 plus n minus 1 into d. This is the formula used to calculate the calculate the nth term. Let's take, as I told, what is the 10th term for this given sequence. Let's calculate. So we can use the rule. A10 is equivalent to your first term is 1, because A1 value here is 1, right? So let me just write A1 is equals to 1 from this pattern. Common difference is 4, and I'm asking you about the value of the 10th term, nth term, that is the 10th term. So n value here is 10. Now just substitute here. 1 plus 10 minus 1 times 4. So what we get? 1 plus 10 minus 1 is 9 times 4. So 9 times 4, what we get? 9 times 4 is 36. 36 plus 1. So your 10th term is gonna be 37. So the whatever the number is in this order, whatever the number it's gonna appear here is 37, right? So this is the way of calculating the nth term. And also you may expect some time to calculate the sum. Whatever the nth term you calculate, what would be their sum? It's like 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus 13 plus so on till plus 37. What would be the sum? So that is we can calculate by using this rule. The sum of numbers in any evenly spaced set is given by the average of the first and the last term times the number of terms. So here no need of calculating the value of n, because it will be mentioned in the question, saying that find the sum of 10 terms in the given sequence, or find the sum of 20 terms in the arithmetic progression or evenly spaced numbers. So value of n will be given to you. So yes, they may expect you to first find what would be your nth term, and then they expect you to find the sum, as they said, as how we solve for 10th term. So now I can find the sum of this sequence is simply their sum. I can just write it as my first term is what? 1 plus what is the last term, we got it here as 37. A1 plus an 30, that is my 10th term, divided by 2, and how many number of terms are there from here to here? That is 10 multiplied by 10, right? So 37 plus 1, so 38 by 2 times 10. So what we are getting? 38 by 2, it's 19 times 10, so that's gonna be 190. The sum of all the numbers here, 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus till 37, is 190. This is the another way of asking a question based on evenly spaced numbers. All right, let's move next. Okay, this is very important trick to know about the evenly spaced numbers, because you may expect the questions based on the median and the mean and other varieties, and you need to like make use of the median relate with the mean and the average of the first and last term to calculate the numbers or the missed one in the question, right? So we'll be seeing the examples later based on this concept. So now let's focus on the how it works. In any evenly spaced set, the arithmetic mean, that is the average, is equal to the median and can be calculated by the formula. Mean is equals to median is equals to the average of the first and the last term, where a1 is the first term and the an is the last term. Now first let's just discuss what do you mean by the median. Median, it means a middle term. If I write an expression, let's take our same example. If we say 1, 5, then 9, 13, 17, 21. Let's take an example. This is what I am representing. Okay, so here 21 and let just me another, let me take 25. So 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, 21, 25. Now question, what would be the median? To find the median, the first thing you should do is you have to arrange the number in order if they are not. If they are already in order, that's well and good. So what would be the median? Median, it means the meaning of the median is the middle term. Middle term. So what would be the middle term of this one? So here look at 3 numbers this side, 3 number this side, right? So your middle term is gonna be 13. So 13 is the median of this. So of course there are like different, what is the number of terms even in count, because there are odd number of terms in count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If the number of terms are odd in count, the middle number it's the median. If the number of terms are even in count, then the median will be the average of the two middle number. Always true. Okay, right. So let's verify. So median we got it as 13. Middle term we got it as 13. Now what do you mean by mean? Mean or the arithmetic mean or the average? It's basically the sum of all the numbers. What we get? 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus 13 plus 17 plus 21 plus 25. So all this number divided by how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So divided by 7. So that gives you the result as, if you add them all and divided by 7, the definitely the result what the mean you gonna get here as 13. Right? So that's why we say the median is equivalent to the mean, and also the another, this is also equal to the average of the first and the last term we say. So what is the first term here? 1, and what is your last term here? 25. I'm just talking about relating with this sequence. Okay, so your first term is 1 and your last term is nth term is 25. So divided by 2. So 26 divided by 2 is 13. This is how the mean is equivalent to the median. It's also equivalent to the average of the first and the last term of that sequence, right? Okay, that's it for the today's class.